Good morning. Grab your cup of coffee. It's time for Living with Favor. We are here to talk about faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. I'm Lisa Mosbey, your host of Living with Favor. Thank you so much for tuning in and letting me share a little bit of advice. And today we have an expert guest. His name is William Kalatsky, and William works in the area of energy healing and manifestation. He believes that we are the creators of our life, that we can steer the ship and navigate the waters to make it a life we desire. William is the author and creator of the Intuitive Method, and he has been a presenter with Dr. Mercola, who I am a huge fan of. So of course, when I knew that he worked in this arena with these gifted and talented people who've been serving hundreds of thousands, millions of people across the internet, I had to see if he was available to come spend a morning with me. Welcome, William. Come on in here. We want to find out more about the intuitive healing method. I have a few things that we want to cover. You're doing a webinar. You have a webinar coming up talking about headache remedies, the intuitive method, which is your book, and that's coming out. We want to get into that a little bit. And then I want to share a little about my experience working with you. So I'm going to open it up first to start, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into these things
Sure.
that I want to know more about.
Fantastic. Thank you. First, it's the intuition method.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, yeah, totally fine.
Apologies.
Just want to let you know, intuitionmethod.com.
Intuition.
Let's see a little bit about me. Well, here I am living in beautiful Miami. I moved down here a number of years ago for a more peaceful life. And little did I know the stress levels I had when I was living in New York. And when you're in it, you really can't know that you're having it because you're in it. You're a fish in the water. And coming down here really opened up so many perspectives in terms of how I feel and how I live and consciousness and made me aware of so many new things, changed the way I practice the work that I do. So, but right before I left New York, after so many years in the healing world, as a child, I was diagnosed with something called IBD, irritable bowel disease, and they said it was probably Crohn's because my brother had that, but I didn't want to go for any more testing because as a young teenager, 12 years old or 11 years old, the testing's pretty invasive.
Yeah.
And we met this amazing healer called Donnie Epstein, and he was a chiropractor. And he said to my mom, give me 3 months. If they're not better, do what the other doctors tell you. But in this case, let's see if the body knows how to heal. And he was right, it did. His system opened up the energy flow, the nervous system. And so he said, I'll teach you if you go to chiropractic school. So that was the beginning of the journey. And suddenly watching all these people have miracles all the time and learning even as a teenager how to start to tune into these things changes your perspective on life. Honestly, it changes your perspective actually on the system in general, because you realize, wow, there's more than we're being taught. And so I really jumped in. I started meditating at a young age, and I'll even call meditating things like creating stillness, because it's literally what, you've heard this phrase, the still small voice.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what it is. I've had experiences with the still small voice where I learned what it means and through being in stillness. And it's one of the most powerful and beautiful experiences to really get that message of what that voice is. And so all these experiences led me to become more and more sensitive to awareness. And in the stillness, you're going to hear things you wouldn't hear. You're going to see things you wouldn't see. And it tunes you into other levels of consciousness, the field, energy, healing. In my book, in my classes, I teach how to see auras. Why? Not because you need to see auras. You're seeing them anyway. You just don't know you're seeing them. But to be able to tune to that, to tune your eyes to notice that frequency of light, makes it more real to you that there's a field around us all the time. And when you have that, and then if you learn how to feel energy yourself, now you've got the feeling, you've got the seeing, and your conscious mind is getting overrode. You're creating a new belief system that, oh, wow, I'm swimming in energy, which means I can do things if I'm swimming. Just like I can push water, I can push the field of consciousness around us and create healing for myself and others. So, that's a little bit of the background.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
talk about pushing energy. We talked about Richard Bach and moving clouds out of the sky
Mhm.
the last time we
Yes.
chatted. And that when you say that pushing energy, that's what I think of. That's the image that I
Right.
remember from childhood.
Yeah.
You know, when folks read the intuition method, I'll get it right from now on.
Mhm.
What do you hope your readers take away from that? You know, when
Mm.
we write, we have an intention around that, you know, like an end
Yeah.
in mind when we're sharing
Right.
that. What do you hope that
Yes.
your readers take away from that?
Well, the intuition method started as a book that it was for my patients where I would teach them how to access their intuition consciously so they could get guidance, real guidance. And I found so many people were being uncertain or misled or angrily spouting narratives that they really didn't know were true or not. They would just repeat what they heard, let's say on TV. And some people would repeat, depending on what channel they heard, they would repeat something different, but about the same topic. So I started doing something to teach them how to access that inner voice so they would know. And it created a lot of joy and a lot of anger
Yeah.
because once you prove to yourself it's true, then you realize that when you check in about what you thought was true, you find out you're being misled by, let's say, the media. Now you're annoyed. You don't want to watch that show anymore. You're mad at the host, things like this. Other people maybe just want to disregard it. But it started as intuition, and then it led to all of the other sensitivities to develop into the healing world. Because in the end, healing self, healing others, creating the life you want is number one. That's, to me, the magic of this earth. The highest level of magic is being able to take the spiritual, the energetic, the conscious, and make it into the physical, right? Because that's creation. That's how it started. We took pure nothing and made it into what we are today. And there's a through line, right? We have a connection to our source. We have a connection to spirit that runs through us 24/7. More than 24/7. And so in turning quiet and learning to connect to that, we get so many things. We get answers, we get information. And on the highest level, because we're here in the physical, we actually can heal. We can connect with the healing part of us that is just waiting to be unlocked, unsqueezed, like that little straw. Unsqueeze the straw so it can move through you. So that's the premise of the book. And ultimately, it's to teach you to be a teacher yourself so you can experience life 2 or 3.0 for yourself, where everything is suddenly different than it was. So that's the nature of the book.
So you're giving them the tools, you're giving them a format to follow, helping teach and train people. And then how do
Right.
individuals apply that? Like they start to see auras, they start to learn about energy, and they can do it for themselves, for
Well,
their family. How do they
yeah.
apply it?
Well, so it's a step-by-step book. And much like the Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi teaches the kid wax on, wax off, and the kid doesn't know why he's learning it. Most of the lessons are like that. I don't tell you why you're learning what you're learning until the next one, because I don't want your conscious mind to try to think about what you're doing. I want you to do it, get it, and then in the next lesson, you're going to learn why you were doing it. So in a sense, skipping ahead is not the best idea, even though there's curiosity there. So it's conversation about the topic, about how the system works, the mind works, consciousness, manifestation, and we talked a little bit last time about manifestation, the nature. We're always creating, always. Our life is our creation. Our downloads are what we take in, our uploads is everything around us. And so to create is normal, but to manifest is a subcategory of creation. To manifest, we must be in a festive state. We must vibrate at a festive frequency to manifest. Otherwise, we're manipathing. We're letting our belief system and everybody else's belief systems create the world around us. And sometimes it doesn't look pretty. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't because, there is that element. So the choice to become festive and feel good is a huge message throughout the book too, is to learn to choose your emotion, at least for periods of time.
Yeah, what I hear you saying in that is there's this theory that you are the product of the 5 people that you hang around with. And
Exactly.
and that's because you become what they are versus what
Right.
you choose, and steering your own ship, as we said in the beginning, and you're
That's
not
right.
manifesting. Yeah.
That's
Interesting.
true. And the 5 people has to do with frequency. So when you're around 5 people with coherent brainwaves that are living the kind of life they live, you're going to start to match up to that frequency. So it becomes easy. You don't become wealthy because your 5 best friends are wealthy. And they're not offering you a deal, but being around them creates this new frequency within your mind that just attracts that.
Yeah. Women who live together oftentimes will their cycles will match up. So I think women can relate to
Yes.
this. You understand how that you may have experienced it in your life. Something new that's come up that you've been working. I don't know how new this is, but you have something called the headache remedy. I'm using the word remedy. Maybe you call it
Yeah,
something else, but
yeah,
healing, headache healing,
yeah.
and you're doing a
Headache
webinar
healing.
about it. Healing.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
bringing that in.
Well,
Go ahead.
well, it's Headache Heal. It's the website's herbs.headacheheal.com. I'm doing a webinar on it. And what I've discovered through this work is somebody had asked me, hey, can you do what you're doing over a distance? So, I tried it for this person just from a few feet away. And when it worked, I thought, I wonder if over Zoom. And then, I've worked on so many people with headaches that I just did a trial. I did a 2-week trial, a free trial. I had 25 people with all kinds of headaches, from the most severe migraines to post-surgery headaches to you name it, and cleared over 90% of them. And it, the 10% that weren't had special reasons, but in my mind, it's like, this is really something that I can help people so quickly. And so many people have migraines that are pretty much untreatable, but they're not unhealable, right? Because we're dealing with patterns of consciousness that come before the headache. So if we clear the pattern of consciousness, the headache's no longer attracted to you,
So
right?
let's,
And so,
yeah. Let's apply that
yeah,
really quick because
yeah,
before we started, I had mentioned, and for those of you that don't know, I was in a car accident when I was 3 years old, and my head hit the windshield, and so I had a broken brain, I had bruised brain, I had fractured skull, and I've had a couple of incidents, traumatic head injuries, because when you have a head injury, you get dizzy and then you fall and you hit your head again. So it's just been an evolutionary process of figuring out how to create balance in my body. And so I was sharing this with William, and before we started today, I said, "Well, yeah, today was a dizzy spell day. Yes, it started yesterday, and it's still continuing today, and it happens periodically throughout the year." So he said, "We have 7 minutes. Let's just try this." And so we did, as an experiment on me, how quickly we could do this over Zoom when we're both focused on showing up and talking to you. And he went ahead and did that process with me. And it was really fascinating. I just take a deep breath and I'm calm and relaxed. But what I experienced was almost a feeling of a lifting, like something was lifting or moving away from me. Can you tell me, kind of, maybe in your opinion, like what am I experiencing when I'm sitting here and receiving that healing through you?
well, so, wording, I'll say, is kind of important because
Yeah.
you're not really receiving a healing through me,
Okay.
right? All I'm doing is moving some pieces around. All I'm
Okay.
doing is there's distortions in your field that connect to that end up creating a restriction in your physical, right? So you look at someone, they're angry. You can see their expression, but you might even feel tension around them, right? There's a constriction. So all I'm doing is connecting. I've discovered essentially the frequency for headaches. And so everything has a frequency. So by training for a very long time and being able to tune into different frequencies, some people know about a Rife machine. It could be akin to that, where it finds the frequency of a problem, matches it, connects to it, and then says, "Hey, we're friends now. Let's work together." And then I can touch it, untie the knots, the distortions, the speed bumps, and then create stillness. And as long as I'm still, meaning if I'm in a horrible state of mind, I can't do the work. So I have to always be taking care of myself. And the more I do the work, the more I have to take care of myself. So it's an endless cycle of getting more sensitive, right? So the work is developed as I do more work on more people to get better and better.
So you use the word healing. Can you define that in that? Because to me, I don't know, I
Yeah,
would use the word remedy or,
yeah.
release
Healing means to make whole. Healing
Okay.
means to put you back to your state of wholeness,
Got it.
and versus lacking something. So if there's an imbalance, and there's always imbalances, right? Even when you walk, you take a step forward, you're out of balance for a moment to get to the next place. So we need to be out of balance to grow. And then we need to reconnect to our balance again to take in the perception of things. And in that balanced state is when we get settled and we get quiet, and then we make a change again and we get out of balance. So what I'm doing is seeing they're out of balance is creating conflict for you. And I'm saying, oh, let me help you with that. So now you can find the peaceful resolution and then discover the pattern that's creating this pain for you. And once you get that down, Headaches are clear. I mean, some people, especially with severe migraines, they're going to live with them for a long time. There's no known cure. There's a lot of treatments. No one's looking really for, I mean, people might be scientifically looking for the reason behind, but to be able to just say in 10 years, I'll have had a different life because I healed this. Like, what is that worth? To know that you didn't lose days out of the month or weeks out of the month, or for you, the dizziness. What if suddenly, after a number of sessions, you're like, oh my God, this hasn't come back in years. I don't have to worry about this. I can enjoy all the things I want to do. I don't have to, ruin a vacation or lose days at work. I mean, there's a lot of, high earners that are so thrilled that they're not missing 4 days of work a month because their migraines aren't kicking in. And, there's expensive medications and they do or don't work. But, the idea that there's something that's ultra natural that you can just do yourself is fascinating.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. I mean, I've had to, cancel vacation because I started a dizzy spell and, waited a couple of days and it just wouldn't go away. And I never know how long they're going to last when they happen. Mine aren't
Right.
always connected necessarily to a headache, just more of a vertigo state. And I don't
Yes.
always know
Mhm.
what's going to knock me into or out of that state. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
food, I've tracked my
Yeah.
food, all kinds of things. But with headaches, it doesn't necessarily have to be a trauma. My migraines, we don't know why people get migraines. Mine was an accident-related incident. Not everybody gets headaches because of accidents.
Mhm.
But you're
Right.
saying this works across the board. It doesn't matter if it's, a genetic disorder, an accident, or something else. It's in the field. It's blocking in the field
Right.
of your energy before it takes physical form.
Right.
And you're going back
Exactly.
through those steps to actually
Exactly.
find
Yeah.
the
And
include the.
that's why, I'm really, I don't know if there's something that it doesn't work on. When someone tells me they have a certain type of thing, someone said to me, can you help with tinnitus? And I said, I don't know. I haven't tried tinnitus yet. Let's do it. I did see somebody who had a tooth extracted. I didn't know I'd be able to help because I've had tooth extracts. And I know it's like a jackhammer in your jaw. And, now that video is on my website where she's saying, oh my God, thank you. Oh my God. And it's really, I didn't expect it. I honestly, because I thought this is such a strong trauma and it's so current, it's not a chronic situation. I didn't know what would happen. So there's still exploration with things like that. It's really about connecting. When you say headaches don't necessarily come from a trauma, they do always, just like any issue does.
Oh,
The trauma doesn't have to be obvious, right? It might not be a trauma we realized we had. It could be a slight that someone said to us that reminded us of something our dad said to us. These are traumas, these are jolts to the system, and they can shift anything in us, and we don't even know we're holding them. So for years, we're blocked. We don't know it. We're missing out on a whole flow of our lives
wow.
until it finally starts to say, hey, here's a symptom, by the way, you've been missing out and you don't know it. Let me finally give you some pain so you could start to address the problem that you've never noticed because you're too busy to notice, right? If you had a blah day for too many days in a row, you might just say, I'm blah. But most people aren't going to say, oh, I bet there's a reason for this. I wonder if I could find someone who could help me clear the blahs so I can open up that access to my joy again. And after a while, that blah leads to what? A deficient immune system, headaches, looking older, feeling sallow, all those kinds of things. So we need to clear them so we can heal.
Amazing. It's a trickle down effect with all of that. You
Yeah.
don't even know that it's in you or that you're struggling with it. What are the misconceptions around energy healing? Obviously, I've had a few, and the language that I'm using, I'm not necessarily clear. How can we clear this up for listeners so that they can have a better understanding when we're using the words energy healing?
Well, energy healing is a tough one because people, even when I say to them I do energy healing, they say, oh, me too. And then I'll say, oh, what kind? And then maybe they tell me and I'll say, well, do you want me to show you what it feels like, what I do? And I'll do a quick sample session with them and they say, oh, this is interesting. And so, it's different than relaxing things. I mean, sure, you feel relaxed. I can alter. We can stick a headset on you when I'm working and we'll watch brainwaves change. We're starting to do EEG studies now on people with headaches to see why the headache's changing the way, in the brain structure, in the neurology while I'm doing the work, because I don't know what it looks like in there when I'm doing the work. I just know what it feels like. So if we can imagine holding a baby, a beautiful, pure baby feels really good. And if we can imagine some big scary person coming and putting their hand on us doesn't feel good. There's an energetic component to our perception, to our beliefs, to the actual physical touch. You know, my great teacher, Donnie Epstein, used to say, if somebody had the same skill, the exact same skill for surgery as a surgeon between Mother Teresa or Charles Manson, who would you prefer does the surgery? They both have the same skill, but there's an energetic component that one is living in, and there's an energetic component the other person's living in, and you probably don't want one of them doing that work if you have the choice. So we want to go towards this state of wholeness, you know, gratitude, kindness. The more of this we do, the more we heal. The more we heal, the more we notice. The more we notice, the more we can correct. And it ultimately leads to clarity, which leads to allowing us to manifest our lives the way we want it. So how to clear up energy healing. Boy, ultimately you have to find someone you're referred to and just have a session and decide for yourself. You know, that's why I teach auras. That's why I teach energy feeling, because once you know it's real yourself, you're more likely to say, oh, wow, there is something going on here.
And I know you're going to help folks with that because you have some webinars coming up, or the first webinar coming up. And then I know
Mhm.
that this is something that you're deciding to do more often. How do folks get involved with that? How do they join?
Oh, the webinar is Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. The website is herbs.headachesheal.com. I'll be talking a lot about how to heal headaches, how basically discovering how many people are suffering from them, that we're all in a community of very often discomfort, at least on this call, because I'm looking for very specific people to work with. I'm not looking for someone who gets a headache once in a while and they take a pill and it's better. I'm looking for the people who can't get better. I'm looking for the people that are suffering and basically want the quality of life back and are willing to do what it takes to get it. Because there are many people I speak to that say, oh, I've got to pay for this. You know, when I did the free study, it was free because I needed to make sure I could do it and I needed to make sure I get the work. I got the beautiful testimonials. And some people after that were less interested when they realized there was a fee. And I was like, well, or you could take the pills or, you know, just live with your life. So there's a qualification of what is this worth to you? Because it takes my personal energy and my time. And there's so many people who want this service that it's got to make, you know, I have like a sample package so you can just try it once and see that it works and then decide if it's something you want to continue with. But the people that I'm looking for are those that really don't want to live with headaches anymore. They really have had enough. It's for someone who's 12 years old and they're told they have migraines and sorry, you're stuck with this for the next 80 years. It's like, wow, that's a sentence. Or it's the person who's 70, who's lived with it for 70 years and says, I'm ready for a change, you know, or the people in corporate that are on the screen all the time and their heads are just killing them at the end of the day. And they're, you know, so it's really about qualifying. What do you want? You know, what do you want? Why do you want this? Is it worth it for you to put in the time and effort to heal? And it's quick. It's very quick. But there's a process.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much everyone within the first session feels, you know, I would like to say much higher number, but I'll go low and say a 50% difference. And that's just because we're clearing a pattern. And when the pattern's clear, and patterns take time, they come back, but we clear them again. And next thing you know, amazing things happen. And there's a little more happiness.
It's not a one and done solution. You don't take a pill and fix it. It's an
Well, one and done is not a pill because you're taking your pill every day.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many healers come from a place of healing, and you shared a little bit about your story at the beginning,
Mhm.
but there was another story that you had shared, and being that this show's called Living with we have a few, oh, goodness, I am tongue-tied today. Living with Favor,
Mhm.
faith being the F, the acronym, the first letter there. You had shared a story about an experience that you had, and I
Mhm.
believe it to be an energetic experience. Do
Sure,
you want
of
to share a
course.
little bit about that?
Sure.
Taking you back to your youth when, you and your brother were both ailing, had things that you were dealing with, and then stepping into that.
Yeah.
How did you have that
Yeah.
experience? And you want to share that with the folks that are listening?
Yeah, I'll share it. I have so many I wish I could share with you. I know we don't have time, but I'll share that one. So I had an office, my first office as a chiropractor, as a healer, and I just I wasn't happy there at some point. I wanted to do something a little different, open up in some other way. And I was having um a session with a body worker. And suddenly during the session, I said to her, huh, I see someone. Now, just so you know, my background is I grew up Orthodox Jewish. I don't, I'm very spiritual. I 100% believe in God and, the connection to everything. And so, but growing up, we don't really talk about certain things, especially in the Jewish school system. And so, and right now, I would say I'm unaffiliated, but I'm a strong, my faith is, God. So here's me, and I'm laying on this table, and I say, oh, I see somebody. She said, who is it? And I said, I don't know. He's kind of far away. He has long hair. And she said, can you bring him closer? And I said, I don't know, let me see. And I brought him in and I said, oh my God, I think it's Jesus. And she said, really? What's he doing? And I said, oh my God, he's crying. And then she said, why is he crying? And I was like, oh my God. Then I started crying because I I felt that he was crying for me because I was in so much pain. And I was like, this is like amazing to me. And then I felt really super sad because I said, oh my God, by me being in pain, I'm creating pain for others. And that's not what I want to do in the world. There's a spiritual entity, there's this great avatar that is here for us, and we don't even know he's here for us necessarily. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, I'm hurting somebody. That's because I'm suffering. And it was after that, some other parts of the things happened, but that was the main part. Suddenly there was this bird in the cage, and the cage drops, and the bird just keeps walking in circles. And I realized I was the bird, angry. And I just closed up shop and I left. And I realized there's a spiritual component. There's this great, great, unbelievable guy named Jesus who's like literally there to help people if they want to. And if they want to, I guess, notice it, right? Because if you're not, I believe if you're not necessarily like meditating and creating stillness in yourself, I would have missed that image, because that's how intuition works. It shows you things because you're quiet. And so that was really extraordinary for me. And it gave me a whole new perspective based on my upbringing of like, wow, I need to open up my world to understand that, God works in so many ways. And dramatic healings, showing us that here's a guy called Jesus who is the Son of God, who is, suddenly here. And I was just like, wow, so these stories are real, and suddenly like there's a wake-up call there. That's really extraordinary and beautiful. And it's really nice too, because it dispelled a lot of, growing up beliefs that I was, let's call it, living in, trapped in some ways. And so that's the amazing story of it.
When we know better, we do better, right?
Yeah,
You were doing great things at the time, but there was even
yeah.
more that needed
I
to be done.
didn't know there was someone who cared about me so much. Like I said to you, it felt like, oh my God, someone loved me more than my mother. My mother would do anything for me. But there's someone who could actually take some of my pain, like literally take some pain off of me. And I knew that's what was happening. And I know my mother would if she could. But here's someone energetically who was able to do that. And I was like, wow, this is really something. Like on some level, like, can I do that? Like, how do I help people like that? That's a big thing. And I have a belief, like when you have learned everything and transcended and become this great master, you only come back to help people. Otherwise, there's no reason to come back.
Yeah.
There's no.
There's so many healers, and a lot of the people that we interview and we talk to on here, I work with people in the wellness field because that's where I came from as a holistic health practitioner and herbalist, working with herbs and supplements and foods and seeing those shifts. I mean, I could give somebody a cup of tea, or I could find a plant and make a salad for them. And you see those shifts in their body when they get the energy, the nutrients, the supplements that they need, or the food
Right.
that they need, and their body can change. And there's so many healers out there. There's people that do breath work. There's people that do body body work. There's people that do fitness and nutrition and wellness, and we're all here to serve. But folks don't always know where to go, who to talk to, or what's available to us. We don't even know. I didn't know that you did this, and we've been in the same
Oh,
networking group for quite a while. And you
yeah.
hear the word energy work or body work, and oh, he's a chiropractor. That doesn't help me because I'm here, and I can't
Mhm.
get chiropractic care over the internet. So when
Right.
we dig deep and we start to get to know these amazing gifts that people have, we have
Yeah.
access to it. All of us have access to it. We don't need to
Right.
suffer. Healing is available to us. So,
Mhm.
Evelyn, if you want to come off mute and ask any questions, you're more than welcome to do that. Uh, Final thoughts as we start to kind of wrap this up. Is there anything else that you'd like this audience to know?
Well, one is I've got some fun videos and testimonials on my Instagram. That's at william.kalatsky.com. Not .com, just at william.kalatsky. And that's fun. People are enjoying these testimonials because especially the first session where your headache's gone and your face starts to change and maybe even start laughing like, I don't understand what just happened. And so that's enjoyable to watch the surprise factor. I share a lot of good information too about consciousness. My other website's intuitionmethod.com. And again, I share, you'll see me speaking a little bit on at the Everything Matters Live Summit with Dr. Mercola. And I've got some amazing information, courses, things like that, that I think benefits the world in a lot of ways, especially for those who want to get in touch with their inner voice, their inner selves, their healing capacity. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'd encourage you all to check out William's work, tap into the insights that he has through those resources, books, courses, and at least attend a webinar. I know he's doing one this Thursday. There'll be more to come. I'm predicting it. So if you can't make it this week, at least tune in and check in with him and connect to his resources so that you can find out for further information about webinars to come. Because
Right.
healing is a gift. Healing is here for all of us, and we need to take advantage of it. We can shift and change the trajectory of our life when we get healed. No matter what's happening in your world, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, there are people in this world that are available to help you. Please don't sit and suffer. If we can help one person, that's priceless. And that's why I wanted you all to meet William today. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you again in the future, maybe on a live episode. Come on in here and join, ask our guests questions, learn more for yourself. Everybody is welcome. And if you need some advice on your wellness business, how to get your voice out there, share your message with the world, I invite you to book a time with me. You can go to lisamosbey.com and grab a spot. And again, William, we're going to go to that website is
herbs.headachesheal.com. And I'm super excited to share with everybody what and how to heal. So
beautiful.
thank you for having me.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for giving me some time. I appreciate it, and for helping me, experience what this is like. It was amazing, and I appreciate you.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so much.
you.